This is a continuation of our hearing on resolutions filed by Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel and myself, both seeking to look into the issues surrounding the cease and desist order of the DSWD against Gentle Hands Child Caring Agency in aid of legislation. I start today with the thought that with all that is happening in other parts of the world and also in our own backyard, we are once again in full view of the vulnerabilities of children and the many risks they face in their very young lives. But despite all this, we come together as a community, hopeful that we can do everything we can to make amends by rectifying our mistakes and making sure that we protect them from harm. This is why, as we continue our discussion today, I'm hopeful that we can move forward by coming up with policy proposals that will fill in the gaps in our existing legislation and even in our programs for children. But as we all know, a legislative measure is only as good as its implementation, and thus we also strive to ensure that laws and programs are implemented properly, having the best interest of the child in mind. Marami pong salamat. So I'd like to proceed now by asking our Committee Secretary, Comsec Gemma Tampienko, to read the names of our resource persons present.
Good morning, everyone. The committee would like to acknowledge the presence of the following resource person. From the Department of Social Welfare and Development, we have Secretary Rex Gatchalian, together with Yusek Manina Josefina Romaldes, Yusek Edward Justin Orden. We have Yusek Denise Bernos Bragas, Yusek Fatima Aliyah Dimaporo, Asek Janet P. Armas, Asek Ada Colico, and Asek Gina Wenceslao. From the Interagency Council Against Trafficking Department of Justice, we have Ms. Crystal D. Embido Benaventura. May I request Ms. Benaventura? Then we have from the National Authority for Child Care, we have Undersecretary Janelle Estrada, Asek Rowena Macalintal. From the Council for the Welfare of Children, we have Yusek Angelo M. Tapales. From the Commission on Human Rights, we have Ms. Maria Victoria Diaz and Attorney Romel Tinga. From the Quezon City Fire Department, we have Superintendent Flor Ian Iguerero, together with the Chief Inspector Francia Embalsado. Okay. Then from the department, Quezon City, Department of the Building, we have Attorney Frede Lilagan, with Engineer Roy Xavier Cornista, Engineer Rodel Mesa. Then from the, we have joining us online, we have Miss Charity Graft. Then from the Gentle Hands Legal Counsel, we have Attorney Tina Balahadia, Attorney Karina Gay Balahadia Ligayo. Then we have together with them Attorney Hayesen Marioles and the Acting Executive Director, Ms. Eleanor Katihan. Then from the Adoption Support Group Calabarzon, we have Mr. Romeo Brosas. That's all for now, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Comsec Gemma. So let's proceed. First, for our resource persons from Gentle Hands Incorporated, who will be taking the questions? Will it be Miss Charity or who will it be? Okay, before we proceed, could the Comsec Gemma please administer the oath to our new resource persons this hearing?
May I request those who have not taken their oath during the last hearing to please stand up. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name, do solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to this committee. Thank you. You may now take your seat.
Thank you, dear resource persons. Thank you, Comsec Gemma. So back to Gentle Hands, Who will be taking the questions?
Your Honor, we will be taking the questions. Legal counsel, attorney.
Ah, there,
Yes,
attorney.
Your Honor.
Oh, yes, thank you,
Good morning.
Attorney Balahadia.
Yes, Your
Ligay.
Honor.
All right. So, Attorney, per the DSWD's report to the committee during the last hearing, there have been meetings and case conferences between the DSWD and the GHI, and I suppose these continued after the hearing. So, could you please give the committee an update as to how far these meetings and conferences have gone?
Your Honor, the only meetings and conferences that we've had with the DSWD pertains to the administrative hearings that we had to attend due to the show cause orders that were issued after the hearing in July. We have also had to address the cease and desist orders, now numbering 8 from the DSWD in relation to the operations of the Gentle Hands Incorporated. We have only had 2 conferences in relation to accreditation and licensing and updating of the as regards the status of the violations allegedly committed by the Gentle Hands Incorporated. We have addressed at least 80% of those violations, Your Honor. We are only unable to address the other 20%, so to speak, which we will detail later, due to difficulties and circumstances, Your Honor. For example, like I mentioned during the last hearing, that a massive renovation would have to be undertaken in order to address the issues of the building permit that was revoked. And of course, without a building permit, we could not have a fire and safety certification. The fire and safety certification as well, we were able to address the issues as regards the sprinkler systems, the block door exits, and the other requirements of the Fire and Safety Bureau, Your Honor. However, for the other requirements that would restore the building permit of Gentle Hands, it would require massive renovation. And again, as I mentioned during the last hearing, since we are under an agreement with the Department of Transportation for the demolition of the entire building, this is not considered an option. However, Your Honor, we would like to update Your Honor, that the DOTR has already made an offer as far as the building is concerned. And the next step would be to probably purchase a building for which Gentle Hands can transfer to. And from there, we hope, Your Honor, that we will be able to restore the license, the permits, and the operations of Gentle Hands Incorporated as far as the NCR operations are concerned.
Thank you, Attorney. So you've had one administrative hearing, and then I'm surprised to hear that you have a total now of 8 cease and desist orders, because later I will be asking the DSWD about the 4th and 5th CDOs that I had heard about before
Your Honor,
this
may I
hearing
just
continued.
correct?
And let
Sorry.
me just finish,
Yes,
Attorney. And then you said you've had 2 conferences with the DSWD, and then followed the list of addressing of violations that have already been accomplished, and those that are still to be addressed in the future, and the next steps. You were saying?
I'm sorry,
Attorney?
Your Honor, for
Yes.
interrupting. We had 2 administrative hearings, Your Honor.
Sorry, 2 administrative
Yes,
hearings.
Your
All
Honor.
right. Aside from what you've updated the committee of, are there any other updates or outcomes of the to each administrative hearings and conferences?
Yes, Your Honor, there has been a resolution as far as the administrative hearing is concerned. The administrative hearing for show cause order number 1 resulted in a reprimand. The administrative hearing in show cause order number 2 or number 3, which documents will provide this honorable Senate, this honorable committee, resulted in the suspension of the license of Gentle Hands for 1 year. We filed a motion for reconsideration, Your Honor, but this has been denied by the DSWD. Your Honor, we note that all of these violations, which were the subject of the administrative hearings, were all conducted and carried out after the cease and desist order was issued in May of 2023. The hearings were conducted in July of 2023, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney. In your almost 20 years of experience as a residential child caring agency, how would you assess the laws and programs governing your functions? Can you also give us some key recommendations to fill in any policy and the legislative gaps?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we have prepared actually a table to present to the Senate in our possession paper, Your Honor, where we have um, identified the different provisions in particular, Your Honor, the particular memorandum which has been applied, which has been used in this case. That's Memorandum Circular number 16. Memorandum Circular number 16 is the memorandum that the DSWD crafted in order to address the complaints against SWDAs, Your Honor. In the purpose of that memorandum circular, it states that in order to to provide the complainants with a structure or with a procedure to follow for filing complaints, this MC 16 was actually created. Now, Your Honor, in MC 16, there are certain provisions which, to the mind of gentle hands or to the experience, in the experience of gentle hands, were not actually followed in the carrying out of the cease and desist order, as well as in the actual administrative procedure that was carried against the executive director. For example, Your Honor, MC 16 requires that a complaint be filed. A complaint be filed and it should be in writing. Now, this complaint should be at least attached to the cease and desist order, or should at least be provided to the recipient, to the respondent, in this case, gentle hands or the executive director. However, Your Honor, in the issuance of the cease and desist order, there was no complaint attached. There was no mention of imminent danger. There was no mention of the complainant. It was a general statement saying that there was a violation of 7610. MC 16 also, Your Honor, does not provide for the power to actually issue a cease and desist order. We note, Your Honor, that for other government agencies such as the SEC, the DNR, the Data Privacy Commission, all these agencies have particular provisions or resolutions which provide for the power to issue a cease and desist order. So we have been trying to look for the basis of the issuance of the cease and desist order, the cease and desist order, as well as the pull out of the children as part of the cease and desist order. So, Your Honor, there were two provisions or several provisions in the MC 16 which were not followed in the carrying out of the cease and desist order, the suspension of the license of Gentle Hands Incorporated, and most importantly, the taking of the children. There is a protocol also which needs to be followed. So, Your Honor, what are the gaps that we have pointed out in our possession paper? We believe that there has been a gray area, or rather a lack of limitation as far as what powers can be executed by the DSWD as against the SWDAs, or, I'm sorry, the CCAs. In this MC 16, it appears that the CCA is powerless actually to contest. The administrative hearings that we had were conducted after the fact of the issuance of the cease and desist order. When the MC 16 says that there should be an investigation first and there should be notice and hearing prior to the issuance of a cease and desist order, the Supreme Court has said that because of the injunctive nature of a cease and desist order, that the constitutional right to due process should be observed in any case. So we are saying, Your Honor, that MC 16, aside from the fact that it does not provide for the issuance of the cease and desist order, all hearings were conducted after the fact of the issuance of the cease and desist order, therefore denying the CCA due process, Your Honor. So, in aid of legislation and in order to perhaps prevent future occurrences such as these, which resulted in injury and prejudice to the children, the interests of the children, perhaps that particular area in the law, in MC 16 in particular, could be more specific as far as the powers of the DSWD are concerned, and also if there's any protection that can be had for the CCAs, Your Honor. Your Honor, there's been several. In 11642, Your Honor, we also have some notes as far as 11642 is concerned.
Will you be
excuse me, Your Honor.
submitting those notes, attorney, as part of the position paper?
Yes, Your Honor, it's actually part of our position paper, and we have made a table for reference, Your Honor, so that it will be clearer as and applied to the situation at hand, Your Honor, for a clearer illustration of how MC16 could probably be improved, or MC16 could probably have a self-limiting clause, Your Honor. But we have made provisions as well, Your Honor, crafted provisions that can probably be incorporated, Your Honor, with the permission of Your Honors, or after consideration by this honorable body.
Thank you, attorney. All your points are very well noted, and since these resolutions are being investigated in aid of legislation, the committee will take those into consideration. I'll be asking this same question a little later of the Association of Child Caring Agencies, but let me go first to the DSWD. So likewise, Secretary, could the agency provide the committee an update on the children in your custody?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, before I go to that, which is the more important matter, I just want to, again, put things into context based on our last hearing, which was a couple of months ago, just to refresh everybody's memory. First of all, most of the issues raised by the Good Counsel of Gentle Hands has been properly vetted and answered, one, in that hearing, which took us more than 3/4 of the working day, and two, by a position paper we submitted early on July 31st. I just want to make broad stroke highlights. One, the CDO is an implied power by a regulatory agency. The Supreme Court has ruled on that numerous times, and especially when it comes to imminent danger of the children. It is an implied power by regulatory agencies, especially in our case when the child is already at risk because of imminent danger. Two, these are two parallel, as I pointed out in the last hearing, these are two parallel approaches. Because there is imminent danger, we had to resort to the implied power of the regulatory agency to issue a cease and desist order, while the due process of what is stated in MC16 takes place. Now, let me just point out again that there are numerous CDOs, 8 to be exact, because the 20% that hasn't been addressed is actually the biggest chunk of it. Let me point out that numerous national laws are already being violated if we don't act. One, the fire code. The fire code is very explicit that without an FSIC, you are not to be given a business permit. You are not to be given a building permit. That by itself, by the admission of the Good Counsel, that they are in a quandary whether or not to renovate or not to renovate. Hence, they can't secure their building permit, their FSIC or their building permit. That 20% is the heart and soul of the CDO. That is where the imminent danger applies. Without an FSIC, we cannot blindly let a care facility operate because it's a fire trap, technically speaking. Madam Chair, let me also point out a law that this Senate has passed in the last Congress, the Ease of Doing Business law. Remember, in that Ease of Doing Business law, in the IRR, it is also explicit that even though a business permit is issued, it is conditional in nature. It is imperative upon the Bureau of Fire Protection to do the inspection and to churn out a negative list for the local chief executive to act on whether or not to revoke a business permit. Let me just point out that in this case, there is no FSIC, there is no building permit, so hence, technically speaking, theoretically speaking, by the spirit of the law, the business permit issued, which is conditional, is no longer applicable. Remember, business permits are conditional in nature. They hinge on safety provisions such as the FSIC, such as the building permit. So without those two, there is no business permit to speak of. That's another complication to the matter. But let me just point out again, it took us 8 CDOs because up to this day, the heart and soul of the imminent danger has not been resolved. Madali ho sabihin na 20% na lang or only 20% left to be resolved. But let me emphasize, it is that 20% that is the 100% of the imminent danger. The other ones can be addressed, yes, but minus an FSIC, then what are we talking about here? That is a fire trap. By the very admission in this committee that enters into a minute that they do not have an FSIC, I think that by itself says a lot already. That is already violating the fire code. That is already violating the ease of doing business law that was just recently passed. Number two, let me just point out again that the allegation of lack of due process is unfounded. Precisely why there is an parallel move for a cease and desist while the administrative hearings are taking place. That is the contention of the department. Number three, we appreciate the notion that there's things to be tightened in MC16. But that's why in the last hearing, I think the president or the chairman of the Care Facilities Association, Gwen Pimentel, was candid and pointed out that the department has taken strides to consult all foundations, NGOs, SWADAs to include care facilities because we are about to come up with a new and improved MC that will take into account improvements in streamlining RLA or the registration, licensing, and accreditation process of the department towards making it more friendly but without regulatory capture. Two, with the ultimate goal of digitalizing things, which I've said in my confirmation hearing, that we do the streamlining now, then we launch a portal where our SWADAs, who are our partners, and we appreciate them in nation building, to be able to get their permits online. These are things that are already due, and we would gladly furnish the good committee the minutes of those consultation meetings done with the League of Corporate Foundations, League of Foundation, Association of Foundations, and Association of NGOs, as well as care facilities. The Undersecretary for Standards who conducted those FGDs will gladly furnish the committee with the minutes and potentially also the working draft for the new MC. The inputs of the community were all taken into account, not just in the accreditation, licensing, and registration, but taking into account the difficulties in public solicitation and all the great stuff that comes with regulatory, the regulatory framework. Last, and more importantly, the welfare of the children. How are they now? Well, Madam Chair, I just want to point out that they are doing well, but please do not take my word for it. We brought in our social workers, behind me again, our senior social workers who are senior in tenure but not necessarily in age. There was an uproar when I used that term from the ranks of the social workers. Our child case managers are also here, and I would really appreciate, Madam Chair, if it came from their mouth, because they're the ones handling the children. Just as a top line though, Madam Chair, of the 128 children that were referred to 3 of our centers, 34 have been, 19 have been properly discharged off, meaning 16 adopted through the efforts of the NACC, which Yusek Janela will be here to discuss, as well as 3 that have been properly reintegrated to their families. Madam Chair, 2 things. One, if the good committee would allow to hear from the mouths of our social workers how these children are doing. 2, if we would also allow Yusek Janela to later on illustrate her interactions with the children, because she has been quite active given that their agency's tasked to locate loving homes for our clients. That would be much appreciated. And last, Madam Chair, we do appreciate that the Gentle Hands has been quite active in engaging us. But let me also put into context that 4 criminal cases have already been filed by the 4 mothers who, 2 of which appeared, I believe, in the last committee, all of them saying the same things. But I do believe that those are for a preliminary investigation for probable cause. And I think the DOJ is here anyways. So they will, I just want to put that into context again, that there are now, the pattern that we have been illustrating is quite relevant when there are 4 mothers talking about being forcibly separated from their children. A care facility shouldn't do that. A care facility should look at the welfare, not just of the child, but of the family, of the mother, of the entire care system or support system of the child. I think DOJ will also want to elaborate further as to where we are. And last but not the least, Madam Chair, if the committee would deem it proper for an executive session so we can discuss other cases that are being, DOJ to discuss other cases that are being processed as we speak, then that would something that we will also look forward to.
Yes, thank you, Secretary. Uh, the who would the good secretary like the chair to call to give an update on the children from the social workers?
Madam Chair,
And
if I
certainly,
can,
I'll be asking the NAC through you,
Yeah.
Sec Janela, questions, and will welcome her presentation about the children in this particular case. And then we can decide in a little while about the executive session.
if you
But
deem it proper, Madam Chair.
sure, sir. Thank you, Secretary.
Madam
So,
Chair,
yes, who
I
do we
would
hear
now
first?
yield the floor to the social worker. Our social workers from the Nayon ng Kabataan, of which 86 of the children were referred to. Who-
Is Nayon
no.
ng Kabataan the facility to which the majority of the
Yes,
children
Madam
you
Chair.
took into custody
86
were
of the
brought?
128 were referred to
Alright,
them.
so if we
If
could
I
hear
can call
from
in
her,
Noemi.
Yes,
Yan,
Miss
nandiyan na pala si
Noemi.
Noemi.
Sige po. Please give us an update about the children in
Yes,
your custody.
good morning everyone. My name is Noemi Labaydan. I am one of the social workers from Nayon ng Kabataan. So, to answer po yung inquiry po ng ating mahal na senator regarding po doon sa current functioning o current status ng mga bata na na-endorse po sa Nayon ng Kabataan noong May, based on our assessment, well-adjusted na sila sa routine na meron po kami sa center. Pag sinabi pong well-adjusted na po sila, nakakapag-adapt na po sila, Senator, doon po sa ginagawa na po namin sa center. So, nasabi ko po ito kasi ang ating pong mga bata sa ngayon ay nag-aaral na po sila. So, enrolled na po sila sa formal school, yung school po na meron po kami sa center. And then, nag-enroll na rin po sila sa iba't ibang mga skills training na meron din po sa center. And then, yung iba rin pong mga bata sa ngayon ay pinoprocess po namin, Senator, yung kanilang PEPT, yung Philippine Educational Placement Test nila. And then, meron din po kaming 10 na mga bata na currently nakapag-complete ng kanilang skills training. So, nabigyan sila ng mga certificate po nun. So, baking, kagaya niyan, dressmaking, sewing, mga ganyan. So, yun yung mga skills training na kung saan po sila nag-undergo po sa center. And then, sa ngayon po, they can openly express po yung kanilang sarili. Nakakapagsalita na sila. Kasi, nung una po talaga, pagdating nila, palagi nilang hinahanap kung sino ang boss. Parang, minsan nga natanong ako, are you the boss? Sabi ko, hindi po. Ako po isang social worker dito sa Nayon ng Kabataan. And then, sa ngayon po, hindi na po sila masyadong naghahanap ng boss. Kasi pre-practice po namin sila, na-train namin sila na any concern sa center ay pwede silang makalapit. Initially, syempre sa house parent na kung saan nandoroon, nag-aalaga sa kanila sa cottage. At the same time, syempre anytime, i-respond at i-address din ng mga social worker ang kanilang mga concern din po sa center. So, nung una kasi medyo hindi sila ganun nag-disclose ng mga information. Pero nung unang dating nila sa Nayon, na-amaze sila sa laki ng soccer field, ng basketball, and then talagang excited silang maglaro. So sabi nila, maglalaro ba kami dyan? Pwede ba kami dyan? So sabi namin yes, kasi yan ay para sa mga bata. So, and then, nung una din, ang mode of communication namin ay English, kasi parang halos lahat sa kanila ay nag-i-English talaga, especially the small ones. So along the way, of course, para makapag-build din kami ng rapport sa kanila, at syempre yung relationship, to gain their trust, makapag-communicate kami sa kanila, we did yung English din naman. So, kaya lang habang nakakausap na namin sila sa center, nagiging Taglish na. So may mga Tagalog rin naman po na language na ginagamit sila. So sa ngayon, ang ano naman mode of communication namin, any dialect ay welcome sa amin as long as doon nila may express ang kanilang mga sarili at mga concern po. And then, nung una, medyo nagtataka sila kasi nagpa-attend po kami ng flag ceremony. So, nagtatanong sila bakit daw itinataas yung flag at bakit daw ibinababa. So, medyo in-explain po namin sa kanila na it's part ng ating pagiging Pilipino, na yung pag-attend ng mga flag ceremony, ganyan. And then, isa rin po sa naging observation namin, Senator, yung nung una talaga medyo hindi sila ano sa hygiene nila. So kailangan challenge din po sa amin 'yon na talagang makaligo sila, maging okay yung kanilang sarili, malinis nilang kanilang sarili. Pero good to know na ngayon po ay sila na mismo ang nagdadala ng mga sabunan nila sa ano sa sa CR para linisin po ang kanilang sarili. Then nung una medyo nagtatanong din sila about doon sa mga cottage assignment. Ibig sabihin po ng cottage assignment, yung ginagawa po ng mga bata sa loob ng cottage, halimbawa maglilinis, maghuhugas ng dishes, ganyan. So, nung una, hindi po sila ganun ka-open doon, so we let them observe muna, and then we explain to them na it's part of cleanliness nung parang bahay, na nasa loob kayo ng bahay. And then, ngayon po, hindi na po namin sila kailangang i-remind. So, parang sila na po mismo ang nagsasabi, oy, ito yung assignment ko. Minsan nga sila pa ang tumutulong doon sa ibang mga bata para gawin yung mga cottage assignment na yon. So, kaya po ang aming assessment po talaga na overall, ang ating pong mga bata na from gentle hands, na nasanay ng kabataan, ay nakapag-adjust po talaga sila. Kasi yung routine po namin ngayon ay hindi na po namin sila kailangang sabihan. So anytime, alam nila kung nasaan ang opisina ng social worker, napupuntahan na po nila. And then, they understand naman pag halimbawang wait muna, ganyan, magantay po muna kayo. So, nakakaunawa naman po sila doon. So, overall, Ma'am Senator, well-adjusted po at okay na po ang ating mga bata sa ngayon sa sanayin po ng kabataan. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat sa inyo, Ms. Noemi, sa napakadetalyado at nakapagbibigay po sa komite ng mas konkretong larawan at saka feel kung kumusta na nga yung mga batang nasa custody nyo sa ngayon. Kung maaari isumite po in writing sa komite yung ganyang update ninyo sa mga bata.
Madam Chair,
Maraming salamat po.
just
Yes,
as an
Secretary.
administrative issue, we will furnish the committee a matrix of the findings from where the children started and where are they now. Meaning, because there were very relevant nuances that they've seen that we've pointed out as red flags in our last hearing. For instance, the detachment to the Filipino culture and the Filipino language. Furthermore, the lack of space, which we kept on ventilating over and over again, vis-a-vis what they have now. Also, the issue on hygiene. These are things that we will matrix from the start point, the baseline, all the way to the end point where they are right now. We will make sure that our social workers give the committee a good matrix so that you get an idea or of the case management per child.
Thank you for that, Secretary. It's actually related to a follow-up question I'll ask of you. Already in order na ba yung records ng mga bata? Because this was one concern of ours in the first hearing.
I would, again, Madam Chair, I defer to the social worker on who's the lead on the issue of the case files.
Thank you, Secretary. Ms.
Yes,
Noemi.
Ma'am Senator, na-receive naman po namin yung case folder from the Gentle Hands Incorporated. Doon po sa 86 po namin na mga bata po.
All right, good to know, Ms. Noemi. Maraming salamat. And yes, Secretary, we'll await the matrix that you will send the committee. Oo. Salamat para doon. I have a few more questions for DSWD, pero yes, Ms. Noemi?
Yes, Your Honor, I stand corrected. We're still waiting for the 30.
So may ang
case
nasa
folder.
30 case folders pa po ang kulang. So ang natanggap nyo na po ay 56, tama po ba?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so importante, no? So na-receive na yung 50, iniintay pa yung 36. All right, so we will help follow that up also. Salamat, Ms. Noemi. And then, Secretary, okay, medyo natalakay na rin po natin yung hindi lang 4th and 5th, kundi 8th CDOs. And then, ito po, based on past hearings that talked about the need for more social workers, pwede niyo po ba kaming bigyan ng mas malinaw na picture, ilang social workers ang kailangan ng gobyerno para na ma-employ, para fully ma-implementa yung mga mandato ng iba't ibang agencies na nasa ilalim ng supervision ng department?
Madam Chair, one step backwards, ayaw na nga ho muna namin yung hihingi ng dagdag. Kung hindi, sana ho yung mabigyan ng attention yung mga contract of service namin ng mga social worker, yung security of tenure. Kasi para sa amin ho, Madam Chair, ayaw na namin yung pararamihin pa natin yung contract of service na wala namang job security. We have so many social workers who have been there for 30 years, 25 years, who have the institutional knowledge and the passion, yet to this day, they are either contract of service or they are casuals, and they don't have plantilla positions. Madam Chair, this was taken up during our budget hearing. We've submitted it to the subcommittee of finance, but we will gladly submit the detailed breakdown of how many we wish to turn into regular, or sana man lang kahit na nga wag pangit pakinggan, kahit casual man lang para may mga benepisyo. Kasi marami sa kanila contract of service pa rin. We would gladly want to ask for more. Pero hindi ho ba mas maganda sa opinion namin na panglagaan muna natin yung mga existing na nagsakripisyo dyan sa organisasyon namin?
So, well taken, Secretary. So, hintayin po ng komite yung submission ninyo kung ilan sa mga current na halimbawa job order lang, gusto nyo nang ma-convert into regular at least yung iba na gusto nyo ma-convert at least initially into job order. Tama po ba? Then maybe you can also, kahit in writing, give us an indication for the next budget season at bilang bunga na rin itong mga pagdinig natin. Yun, given yung maayos na employment status nila, ilan yung quantity ng social workers kailangan ng department?
Yes, Madam Chair, will do as directed.
Thank you. Tapos ito talaga yung pinaka, siguro, policy question, which is the context of these hearings. Ang DSWD kasi, ang nagsulong nung Administrative Adoption Act nung 18th Congress. So, pareho pa rin po ba yung paniniwala ng department na ang administrative adoptions nagsiserve talaga sa best interest of the child?
Madam Chair, yes. And in fact, in the MC that will come out, and we'll gladly give the committee the working draft, but please, Madam Chair, we note that it's a working draft. We are perfecting it, listening to stakeholders, listening to internal and external stakeholders. Madam Chair, we just had a meeting recently with the Undersecretary Janela. We understand that NACC is the cheapest, most efficient, not cheapest, cost-efficient and efficient way to exit our children from our care facilities into loving forever homes. Madam Chair, one of the things that you'll see in that MC will be empowering one of the gaps that we think can be tightened will be empowering NACC not just to be the placement, but also to empower them to do the accreditation for the programs stated for alternative child care and foster families. Yusek Janela and I have been brainstorming on how we can empower NACC not just to place children, but to perform the regulatory function. Because in that law, it is very clear that they are tasked to form policies, frameworks. In fact, you also empower them to issue out fines. They have regulatory functions. And Yusek Janela and I met about growing their organizations na magkaroon na rin sila ng full-fledged regulatory group for the standards of what adoption or alternative child care facility should be. So naniniwala kami and sinisigurado po namin na mapapayabong pa natin at mapapalago pa natin yung batas na yon para we maximize it to the fullest.
And that's really good to hear. Kasi sa Congress, syempre gusto lagi namin ng feedback din in the exercise of our oversight function. Kung hindi lang kompleto at maayos na papatupad yung mga batas, kundi kung yung batas ay swak dun sa pangangailangan natin at yung mga layunin natin. So, very good to hear that, Secretary. And moving forward, and taking into account itong mga issue na lumalabas, anong measures ang ginagawa ng department para siguruhin na yung mga isyung ito birth pains lang at hindi maging parang permanenteng black mark sa ating adoption policies?
Madam Chair, can you, if the good chairwoman can be more specific in terms of, kasi ma'am, in this case, we stand with our position that the department and NACC or DSWD did nothing wrong in this whole gentle hands issue.
Oh, I'm speaking specifically about the law the implementation of the law, not just specifically the case
Of
of
NACC,
gentle
Madam
hands,
Chair.
of the domestic administrative
Madam Chair,
adoption, any birth pains.
Madam Chair, mamaya i-expound ni Yusek Janela, pero napag-usapan na po natin to ng budget hearing which you sat through with us also, and we are very appreciative. I always believe that when we want a agency, lalo na yung bagong panganak na ahensya na lumago, we have to also provide it with the necessary logistical support. Napag-usapan natin intently doon sa hearing na pinamunuan ni Senator Amy Marcos na gustong-gusto na ng NACC, paano ko lalagyan, ma-emancipate sa mga opisina ng DSWD kasi limitado ang space namin. Pero para mabuo na nila at they can hire more of their people. Kasi nga yung mga RACO sa mga regions as well as the other functionalities. Katulad nito na pag-usapan natin, we want to empower them based on the law. Nandun na sa batas ho yun that they set the standards for accreditation for alternative child care programs as well as fostering. But they won't be able to do that kung yung mga empleyado nila walang sisilungan o walang mga opisina. Isa yun sa mga hinihiling namin. And I know it's off the main policy, but it's also through legislation that we can cure it by the budget season. Yan yung vinerbalize natin na matagal during the budget season. Kulang po sa logistical support. And bagamat nagiging creative na sila, Yusek Janela, in terms of makigamit sa DSWD, makiusap sa LGU. Kahapon nga, nagtanong ako sa kanya, baka pwede tayo umupa. But pag uupa man tayo ng opisina para sa kanila, para makapagdagdag na sila ng tao, kakailanganin pa rin ho ng MOUE para dyan. Mamaya ho, I'll yield the floor, but these are things that I think the law is good and efficient as it is. But we have to give it the necessary inputs for it to be able to perform the lines that's been given to it.
Fair enough, Secretary. And even before Congress steps up even more in terms of yung mas tamang budgeting, halimbawa, year on year, para mapatupad natin yung Domestic Administrative Adoption Act, anong ginagawa ng DSWD para ma-improve yung success rate vis-a-vis yung targets ng NAC? Ngayon pa lang.
Madam Chair, first thing first, I proud. Mamaya, I don't want to take the thunder out of Yusek Janela. I just attended their the mandated consultation with foreign adoptive agencies. They don't have a wala na ho silang bata na maipapa-adopt sa foreign agencies because they've managed to comes close, at least to successfully placing them in local families. So that by itself is a testimony not to the DSWD's efforts, but to the NAC's effort given their limited resources. Kaya nga sabi ko, ayaw ko pangunahan si Yusek Janela, pero we have to hand it to them na kumbaga, alam natin lagi naman limitado ang resources, pero napaggagawa nila with what is given to them. I think Yusek Janela can verbalize more given that she's the CEO of that attached agency. But one thing for DSWD though is we are trying to provide whatever logistic support we can. Kasi the bottleneck there, I believe, is the logistics. Kakulangan ng spasyo, kaya hindi makapagdagdag ng tao. Pag hindi makapagdagdag ng tao, hindi na o-organize yung mga regional functionalities ng NAC. So kami ho, we try to extend as much logistic support as we can. And number two, emancipation. Alam nyo, ma'am, balik tayo dito kasi it comes close to the issue of gentle hands. The Standards Bureau pa rin ng department ang nagre-regulate, as we saw in gentle hands, when it comes to alternate care or adoption na programs. But in the law that you created, it should have been divested already to NAC. So that's a new thing that we are, paano ko lalagay yun? We are not territorial. We want to live by the spirit of the law. Hindi porket na sa amin yung kapangyarihan ngayon, ayaw na namin ibigay. In fact, gustong-gusto na bibigay na namin kina Yusek Janela, but of course, using our people to capacity build their team. Kasi their team will be very new, as in fairly new. So we want to make sure that before we emancipate them with this function, na capacity built na sila. Yun ho yung mga ginagawa namin.
Salamat, Secretary. Oo, wag nating i-preempt yung masasabi ng NAC. Let's let Yusek Janela do that in a bit. But last question for DSWD at this point in time, anong gap sa policy ang gusto nyong irekomenda na sa legislature na aming tignan?
Madam Chair, I'm a creature of Congress, as you know. And I also believe that there's only so much legislation that can be done, as you pointed out a while ago. I think the legislation is already there. But what we need to do is to fix our implementation, as you mentioned, through the memo circulars that we will be issuing out. Madam Chair, we will, again, let me go back to the draft that we've been working on painstakingly for 9 months now. We'll send it to you. And Madam Chair, for your appreciation, if further legislation needs to be done, we don't want to over-legislate because we believe the spirit's there and it enables the executive to come up with memo circulars, administrative orders that will execute the spirit of the law. Case in point po, Senator Pia Cayetano has already verbalized to us the issue on lack of social workers of the country. She has been a champion of that, and she has said time and time again na we're forcing our care facilities to make social workers do everything. So part of the MC that you'll see will be, one, reducing the number of social workers na ratio sa mga bata kasi we're going to use social welfare assistants to do clerical work, to do the back end. Kasi ngayon ho, social worker ang gumagawa sa lahat, and with the limited number of social workers the country produces, sayang naman po yung talento nila pag ikinukulong namin sa opisina at pinipilit namin na mga care facilities na gawan, parang clerk sila. So we are now moving into the area of pushing our social workers to do the client management, the interventions, the help strategies, while our social worker assistants can do the back end. You will see that in the MC as well. But baka matakot ho kayo na, nako, baka bara-bara na kasi social welfare assistance, ano ba yan? One of the initiatives that the department will come up with, or is already in the process, is, I mentioned this, the opening of revitalizing of the DSWD Academy. We've already found, thanking the committee led by Senator Marcos, we now have funds to rehabilitate the capacity building facility that we have in Taguig. But in the interim, the curriculum will be rolled out, the certificate programs will be rolled out for social welfare assistance starting January. We're going to house the academy muna in the UP University Hotel, pending the renovation. That's a policy thrust that we're trying to look at, na hindi dapat limitado na ang social workers natin, pipilitin pa natin sila gawin ang lahat na pwede naman i-devolve through empowering our social welfare assistants, but setting the standards, making sure that they get the certificates from the DSWD Academy. These are things that you will see in the new MC draft that we will give to the committee.
Salamat, Secretary. Ang galing ang tinanong ko, policy gaps na pwedeng trabahuin ng legislature, pero ang nasabi nyo sa komite, executive actions already being undertaken by the department. So siguro the legislature can step up even more behind those executive actions in next year's budget debates.
Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Secretary. So Yusek Janela, tamang-tama, questions ko sa NAC at pwede nyong i-work in dito yung ayaw i-preempt ni Sec Rex, because in fact my first question is about the updates you could give the committee. I remember during the budget deliberations, NAC through DSWD requested and was granted additional budget in anticipation of the expected increase in adoption cases owing to the expedited process under the Domestic Administrative Adoption Law. So the first half of the year is over, and I'd like to get a sense of if the targets are being met, or if not, why? So pwede nyo po bang ibahagi sa komite yung accomplishments ng NAC?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning po. First of all, we were able to hit majority of our GAA targets. And before I proceed with my presentation po, to answer your question, from 2022 to September 30, 2023, we have received 340 petitions for domestic administrative adoption. 236 are under the Domestic Administrative Adoption Act, or RA 11642, and 103 are under the Simulated Birth Rectification Act, or RA 11222. And as of this time po, we have no child available for regular adoption at the inter-country level because our domestic adoption division is able to find permanent families for them. And from January 2022 to September 30, 2023, 572 applications were approved for prospective adoptive parents at the regional offices. 212 suitable PAPs were matched with eligible children, And that leaves us with 360 Filipino families still waiting for children to adopt in our roster of approved PAPs at the Domestic Adoption Division. So this is more than the number of prospective adoptive parents at the Intercountry Adoption Division, which is at 277. Yun po.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, just
yes,
briefly to
Secretary.
put it in context, yun yung pinag-usapan namin heavily ni Yusek. What's happening right now kasi is a gap that we've seen in the executive side, and we are not scared to admit that. Birth pains, so you call, but we already have action steps. Because the accreditation process for programs stayed with the department, pati yung alternative child care at yung fostering, naiwan sa amin yung competency na yon. So ang nangyayari, some of the care facilities, hindi na papa-accredit for adoption, for alternative care at foster care. So the pool where sila Yusek Janela can draw on is limited. So what we've agreed on is that in that MC, we will explicitly say that that power is now with the NACC. And if they fail to get their accreditation for alternative child care and foster care from the NACC, nanganganib na rin ho pati yung permit nila. Of course, going through the due process of to reprimand, suspension. Kasi some of the care facilities don't even try to venture out into getting accredited for adoption. Kasi word has it, and si Yusek Janela can collaborate, some of these adoptive agencies just don't care. Parang sa kanila, maganda tignan na maraming bata na nandun, maybe for other purposes like fundraising for donations. We'd like to think not. But now we're going to explicitly say in that memo circular that you must get your accreditation for those two programs from the NACC. Failure to do so, the NACC will issue a negative list back to the department, and the department will deal with it accordingly in terms of your permit. Kasi hindi pwede ho namimili ka lang alin ang accredit mo eh. When you're a care facility, the exit mechanisms and the help strategies should be complete. Hindi pwedeng, as Yusek General would always point out to me, ang daming nag-age out na bata sa mga care facilities natin. So we need to make sure na yung pool, sabi nga ni Janela, may backlog ng mga Pinoy families who's wanting to adopt 360,
360, did I hear earlier?
Yes, looking for children to adopt. But the pool where they can draw has dried up, pero marami pang hindi kasi na-accredit. So that's a gap that we will address through executive action because the law has already explicitly said that, and we're going to empower that. That's why it becomes very imperative to provide NACC, para na akong abogado ho ni Yusek dito, the logistical support because magdadagdag na naman sila ng tao for the accreditation program. Pero wala na naman opisina, wala ring sasakyan. So hihingi na naman ulit sila sa departamento and we'll try our best to accommodate. But sana ho, matignan natin yung plight na yan. It's a very good law. It's a very efficient law. We just have to make it grow by putting in the necessary inputs.
So in a way, sa pamamagitan nung mas kompletong accreditation, we will surface or make visible all the children who are potentially for matching with and adoption by adoptive families. Dahil ayaw natin nga na marami sa kanila ay mag-age out lamang, of course without sacrificing the quality of the processes na i-administer naman at i-oversee ng NAC at hanggang sa ngayon ng DSWD in the best interest of the child.
Yes, Madam Chair. In fact, our horizon is to release that MC by the first quarter of next year. And hopefully, by that time, we've already capacity built NACC to do the standard accreditation for those two programs. One more program that we're embarking on, Madam Chair, and I've said this numerous times in my confirmation hearing, which the good chairman was there, is digitalizing things. Janelle and I have been talking about coming up with a central database for in every child that goes into the system, whether it's in a public care facility or a private care facility, not just a child, but senior citizens, we should be able to track down where they are nationwide. Right now, kasi may kanya-kanyang systems eh. The DSWD has our own. The private care facilities, there's no one database centrally to manage every child. What we envisioned was for every child that comes in, that child should be placed into that database. Updates to their case management file should be updated so that when things like this erupt, the manual push and pull of those case folders need not happen. That's one thing that we have been working on, but I hope the good committee gives us more time to fully develop that system. But it's something in the horizon that we want to look at so that no child falls into the crack.
I guess related din yan sa pag-roll out na talaga in earnest ng national ID system. Wag lang ma-hack at ma-hostage yung data, no, ng mga nakakaloka naman yung ganyang sitwasyon. Anyway, thank you very much, Secretary. And Yusek Janela, are there any targets that NAC struggles to reach alongside these other ones na nagpo-progress yung numbers natin?
Yung Madam Chair, yung number po of issuance of CDCLA, because nga po, hindi po kami fully equipped ng social workers. Talagang napakarami po ng mga bata para magawan po ng CDCLA ng NECC.
Salamat. And actually, that relates to a question I'd like to ask later of the Association of Child Caring Agencies. So, salamat para doon. Yusek, ano yung percentage ng filled plantilla positions nyo? So, bale, ilan naman yung unfilled pa na plantilla positions? What are most of these unfilled positions for? Social workers ba o iba pang positions?
Madam Chair, I'll provide you the data within the day po.
Thank you. And lastly, for now, sa ilalim nga ng RA 11642, there should be a council that will act as the policy-making body for purposes of carrying out the provisions of the law. Na-establish na po ba itong council? Kung hindi pa, bakit? At kailan ang planong itayo yung council?
Actually, Madam Chair, dala ko po yung paper ngayon para po mapapirmahan kay Secretary. Kakatapos lang po namin mag-create ng council for NACC.
Ganito yung gusto kong klaseng hearing. Hindi lang inquiry, hindi lang kami sa komite makakabuo ng findings, recommendations, pero merong nangyayari between and among the resource persons at saka yung mga executive agencies. Okay, all the best for that. At least mas patuloy na magiging malaman yung pagtatanong ng Senate Committee sa dalawang ahensya as we go on. So maraming salamat, Yusek Janela.
Madam Chair, sorry
yes,
to cut you.
Secretary. No, go
Going
ahead,
back to
please.
your original first question about the welfare of the children from Gentle Hands, I mentioned that si Yusek Janela has interacted with them quite a lot. And if she can share her interactions with them, if the good committee will allow her to do so.
That's right, of course, Secretary. Sorry, I forgot. Yes, please, Yusek, if you'd like to add more to our discussion so far from that perspective.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During my visits po, I found them happy naman and in a much better environment. Galing nga ng sabi ni Ms. Noemi. And thank you, Ms. Noemi, kasi finally po, ngayon po, nakakaligo na po yung mga bata. Sorry. And base po sa pagbisita ko, actually, galing po ako dun kahapon, Madam Chair, to visit them. Nasa maayos na kalagayan po ang mga bata. Base po sa mga kwento nila mismo, ay masaya daw po sila doon. Sila po ay hindi nagugutom. Sila ay nakakapag-aral. Malaya daw po silang nakakapaglaro. Na-enjoy po nila ang kanilang mga activities doon. At sabi po nila, hindi raw po sila nabubugbog at nakukulong. Again, Madam Chair, these were the exact words of the children themselves yesterday. And if you want po, I can show you a video of my visit yesterday, pero hindi po namin na-blur yung faces ng mga bata. Kinapos na po kami sa oras para po gawin yon. Pero
Sayang, Yusek, I was about to ask you how many minutes and then to show it. But unless kaya nating i-blur yung mga mukha
wag
ng
na lang
mga
po
bata
sanang
during
kunan
the
ng
hearing.
mga camera kung pwede po.
Siguro,
May
Yusek,
naka-blur ba?
pakisubmit na lang. Mukhang,
May naka-blur?
mukhang
Sorry
hindi
po.
kayang i-blur ng
So,
text
sorry,
sa
Madam
ngayon.
Chair, may naka-blur daw po pala.
Lahat ng mga mukha ng mga
Yes
bata
po.
naka-blur.
Yes po.
Kasi kung ganon, kung naka-blur, lahat, hindi lang ilan. Lahat. Okay. So then we can
Ayan
see.
po.
All right. Ilang minuto ito, Yusek?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. And then we'll move on to our other resource persons. Please proceed.
Play na po.
bahay?
Yes.
Paano pinapalo kayo?
Pag makulit lang kami.
Ano ginagawa sa inyo?
Ako, honestly, binubugo. Kumuha ng sleeper para sa ganun.
Sino namamalo sa inyo?
Yes.
Okay, so pinapalo kayo ng tsinelas?
Ako, ano yung ginagawa? Sinuntok ako ng napulutan.
Sino sumuntok at sumabunot sa'yo?
Kuya Eddie. Sampa, ganun, sampay. Ako napilayan ako dito.
Tsinelas? Alam mo yung tsinelas?
Ano siya? Ano siya? House parent siya ng boy. Si Kuya Eddie, ano siya, driver siya, naguluto siya, lahat. Hindi kayo ang charity nagsasagot siya. Pag wala sa mood si Kuya Eddie. Pag wala sa mood si Kuya Eddie, pumupunta siya sinong kong nagagtas sa sakral ko.
So, ibig sabihin, alam ni Miss Charity?
Opo.
Parang sinusumbong niya kayo kay Eddie para saktan?
Opo. Pumupunta siya kay Kuya Eddie, sasabihin niya, hindi gagawa namin mali. Tapos, pag hindi niya kaya pang bad trip, sa bad trip, wala sa mood. So, sabi niya, saktan niya kami.
Ikaw, pinalo ka ng tsinelas, sinuntok ka, and sinabunutan. Nakita mo yun? So, hindi nakikita ng iba? Nakita mo yung ginawa sa kanya?
Tapos yung nasa dulo kami, yung nakikita, pagka makalat na yung room namin, tapos pagdadating si Kuya Eddie, may hawak siyang stick para mamalo.
So, sino na ang sinaktan ni Eddie sa inyo?
Lahat halos lahat malalaki.
Nasaktan ni Eddie. So, sino sa inyo ang nakakita na sinasaktan yung kapwa bata, yung mga
Lahat
kasama?
kami, nakikita namin ate.
Sino sa inyo yung alam ninyo na alam ni Miss Charity na sinasaktan kayo ni Eddie?
Lahat kami alam nila kasi sinusumbong kami.
It's almost, halos hindi ko kayang magpasalamat, pero salamat Yusek Janela for showing us this video. Timing, I'd like to turn at this point in time to GHI to address other points, but please may I request maybe Attorney Balahadja Ligayu to respond to these the very serious stories na narrated by the children in the video. Hanggang ngayon, meron na nga tayong pending bill na positive discipline and prohibiting corporal punishment in all settings. And for sure, to be covered yung mga childcare agencies natin. Could you do that first, Attorney,
Yes, Your Honor.
before I call another resource person from
Yes, Your Honor.
DHI?
After I
Yes,
respond
please.
to this particular video, Your Honor, may I also address some points that were pointed out by the Secretary earlier.
Please respond to this video first.
Yes, Your
Attorney.
Honor. We also have a video, Your Honor. However, we have not been able to blur the face of one of the three of the children who are actually in this video. This video was taken earlier on, Your Honor. A couple of before we were actually the members of Gentle Hands were prohibited from visiting and interacting with the children. So this video was taken sometime in May, soon after they were brought to Nayon. And unfortunately, we are still trying to blur it, Your Honor. And in this video, just to sum it up, that particular child, I will give her the initial K, okay, short for her name. She stated in this particular video, if you would like to hear just the audio, Your Honor, that they were being, we can just do the audio, Your Honor, so that you can hear prior to this video that was taken, what was being planted, so to speak, in the minds of these children, Your Honor. I do not want to conclude for you, but if you would like to listen to the audio, Your Honor, just the audio. Just the audio.
Before we listen to the audio, is there at least a general response you would like to make, Attorney, on behalf of GHI, about the story in this first video we have viewed today, na sinasabi ng mga bata, sinasaktan sila ng isang Kuya Eddie who is in charge of, it sounded like the older boys, at sinasaktan sila di umano pagkatapos magsusumbong si Miss Charity kay Kuya Eddie, at sinasaktan sila in various ways. Would you like to make at least a general response to those stories in this first video before, yes, we listen to the second audio?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I am aware of Kuya Eddie. Kuya Eddie was also one of the wards of Gentle Hands from way before. And he has aged out, and so he was he was sent to school, and then eventually he started working for Gentle Hands as one of its employees. He's in charge of the boys, okay, of the boys. And I know of one or two incidents, Your Honor, where the boys got into a scuffle, and they hurt each other so badly that they were punished by Kuya Eddie. But only as far as probably a spank on the butt. But, Your Honor, all of these allegations I have not heard of. And listening to it now, I would have to confront Kuya Eddie himself and ask him if this is true. Because if this is true, this is not something that can be tolerated. Because we are actually the cases that we prosecute are actually for the abuses that were done to these children. Those are the cases that we prosecute in court, Your Honor. So we do not tolerate this kind of behavior, if
And
indeed
that-
it is true.
Yes, and that part of the story in the first video, attorney, that the punishments allegedly by Kuya Eddie against the children were in effect started by sumbong of Miss Charity to him. Could you make a response to that angle, attorney?
No, Your Honor. I am sure that the charity is not aware of this kind of behavior, because the two incidents that I was mentioning, Your Honor, immediately after it happened, I was informed about it by Miss Charity Graf, and I told her that what Kuya Eddie is doing is not allowed. Okay, so he has to stop. Okay, right then and there. So those are only two incidents that I know of, Your Honor. Aside from that, I am not aware of any other incidents, Your Honor.
All right, attorney, could we listen now to the audio
Yes,
of
Your
Child
Honor.
K?
Yes, Your Honor, dear. It's with Miss Fiona already, Your Honor.
So could we play that?
They're still preparing, Your Honor. I just want to
All right.
clarify, Your Honor, that the children in Nayon Kabataan are actually 85, not 86. As previously mentioned, there are 45 boys and 40 girls, 6 of whom have been adopted. And of the 79 who are now in Nayon Kabataan, all the dossiers were submitted as of June 9 and June 8 of 2023. These were addressed to Attorney Michael Joseph Florico, the Acting Regional Director of the DSWD Field Office NCR, received by his office on June 8 and June 9 of 2020.
All 85 dossiers?
All 79 dossiers, Your Honor, because the 6...
Because the 6 were adopted.
Yes, Your Honor. the 6
So how
adopted.
come, to Miss Noemi's knowledge, they're still waiting for 30 of the dossiers?
Perhaps, Your Honor, they're still with the office of Attorney Lorico, because right now we have the receiving copy of the letter in relation to the 25 children and the 54. So we sent it in 2 batches, Your Honor, 154 and 125.
All right, so I'm sure that the SWD will double check if the 30 other dossiers they're waiting for are actually already in their premises, but in the office of one of the officers. So, attorney, if the audio of Child K is not yet ready, to all our resource persons, in the interest of fairness, since the SWD was able to present 2 parents last hearing, the committee will allow GHI to present another parent. Her name is Renalyn Dixon. She's based in the US, so she will be joining us online.
Your Honor,
we have her
Renalyn
now, attorney.
Dixon. Sorry, Your Honor. Renalyn Dixon is actually a child that was adopted in the U.S., but she's now an adult. She was one of those who wrote a letter of testimony and support in support of GHI. We are waiting
So-
for her to go online right now, Your Honor, because of the time difference. But we're calling her now.
All right, so
Um,
she's a former resident of GHI who was adopted out, and she will be testifying based on the letter that she sent the committee.
Yes, Your Honor, as she sent in support of the committee. But Your Honor, in the meantime, may I just address some of the other points that were made by Senator
may.
Gatchalian? Okay. Your Honor, the FSIC that was mentioned over and over again was never asked for during the visit of May 20, 2023, Your Honor. And again, the cease and desist order, which we have been emphasizing during the last hearing, never contained any reference to imminent danger. It's now being repeated over and over again as the reason for the issuance of the cease and desist order. But again, it was never mentioned in that cease and desist order. The implied power to issue the cease and desist order. The Supreme Court has said that even if it is an implied power, nonetheless, there still needs to be investigation and due process. Being an implied power does not mean that due process can be done away with. And due process cannot be parallel to the actual punishment or the actual sanction or the actual penalty. It should be prior to the penalty, prior to the sanction, prior to the said cease and desist order. The parallel they were saying, parallel due process, Your Honor, was not even parallel. It happened 1 month, 2 months after the issuance of the cease and desist order.
Excuse me, attorney. I hear audio. Is this Miss Renalyn?
No, Your Honor, that is K. That's the audio
That's
of
child
K.
K.
That's
her
child
audio.
K.
Okay, we will not show the video.
Yes.
So pakisara natin yung video, pakikinggan lang natin yung audio ni Child K. And just as after we hear the audio of Child K and possibly Miss Renalyn, the chair just has last questions for the organization of adoptive parents, but I'd like to try to end by 12:30 because the chair would like to accede to the request of the secretary for an executive session on other but related issues. So the chair would like to hold that executive session at 12:30 to 1 p.m. So ready na po ba tayong pakinggan yung, if I may just cut your presentation, attorney. In any case, of course, it's important to hear the both or all sides on the legal aspects. But since the committee is not a court of law, and I know there are certain legal processes underway, but pinagbibigyan po ng chair, so at least you can both or all have your legal points on the record, so they can be useful, hopefully, to a good resolution even of your legal processes. Pero we need to maximize the time until 12:30. So ready na po ba nating pakinggan yung audio ni Child K?
Yes, Your Honor. It's not just child K, Your Honor, but several other children in the background.
Okay. Ilang minuto po itong audio na to?
2 minutes, Your
2
Honor.
minutes, all right. So that we can have maybe another 2 minutes for Miss Renalyn.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oo, and then questions of the chair to the organization of adoptive parents before I will adjourn this hearing.
Thank
So,
you, Your Honor.
Thank you, attorney. So, pwede na ba nating pakinggan yung audio lang, pakisara yung video ni Child K at iba pang mga bata? Pakisara yung video. No. Okay.
Donuts for everybody.
For me!
I remember you gave me donuts for my birthday. Always. And remember I sent spaghetti for my birthday.
Every time they play, they were just sitting over. I'm sorry.
It's mine.
Every time they're trying to make stories so we cannot go back in the gentleman's.
What stories do you mean?
Like I know they're forcing some
They're
of the
forcing
kids.
us to say.
Are they hurting in the gentleman's? They're
No.
gonna say it again and again. So we
They're
got
gonna force us to say, is mom hurting you? Is
yeah,
the gonna
they're
hurting
forcing
you?
us.
And we
'Cause
say no.
We feel like they're gonna know it. They're trying to make stories so we
they're
don't go
making
home.
stories and then
Attorney Tina, they're asking it over and over.
But you
know the true answer to that.
yes.
we know.
And they keep
We're
saying
solving
it.
the
Does mom
truth.
hurt you? And you say no. Does
And then
mom
they're
hurt
gonna
you?
hurt
We say
again.
no.
They say it gonna like 10 times. So many.
And
Now we
it's,
keep saying we want mom.
we
She's
wanna go
nice.
back
But
where
if
we
we're
are
telling
supposed
that
to
we want
be.
to go home, another gonna change the discussion.
We wrote a,
Attorney K, I wrote a letter. I know the DSWD. Oh, you did?
Where did you put it?
They asked
Did
me.
you saw it?
They asked me yesterday.
Did you see it, Attorney K? Ay, Attorney Tina? Not yet.
They
Swerte
asked me
kayo.
yesterday what I want. I said I wanna go home.
Even the JJ
Home
kids,
sweet
even
home.
even
Mom,
the
I miss
Gentalans,
you.
even
Love
the
you,
NNK
Mom.
kids got go nuts.
Of course. We cannot choose, you know, we always take care of children. It doesn't matter where they are from, right?
Home sweet
That's how
home.
mom is, right?
You wanna go back home?
Mom, I love you, Mom, so much.
Yes, I love you.
Mom, I love you. Mom, I love
Me
you so
too.
much.
I know.
Home,
You
please.
guys take care of each other, okay, always. Okay?
Alright, salamat, attorney. Sayang, no, wala tayong child psychologists na not affiliated with either GHI or DSWD for that matter na pwedeng magbigay pa ng additional insights, no? Dun sa unang video na ipinakita sa Nayon ng Kabataan and then dito sa audio ni na Child K. But in any case, again, for the record, attorney, kailan po yung audio file ni ito? At then pagkatapos kay Miss Noemi, kailan po yung or kay Yusek Janela, kailan yung video ng DSWD?
If I may speak,
Attorney
yes,
Balahadia,
yes.
please.
It was on May 27. I went to bring donuts, and which is why I had the video, because the donuts had just arrived. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So 27th May. And then Yusek Janela, kailan po yung video na ito?
Madam Chair, the video was yesterday. Yes.
Okay, salamat, Yusek. Pwede bang matanong ang taga CHR? Miss Bing, kayo ba, Diaz, or si Attorney Tinga ba? Ang tanong po ng komite, paano ba namin, kasi syempre, i-appreciate namin lahat nitong mga inputs, videos, audio files, etc. Paano ba namin ipoprocess yung mga conflicting information kapag mga bata, mga menor de edad ang concerned? Anong payo ninyo sa komite?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam Senator. Actually, we would like to inform the body that we went to Bulacan last July 27 to validate the reports that DSWD personnel, and including ours, CHR, were not allowed to enter first when they went the first time, and the second time finally they were allowed. So we went there and we checked in terms of the programs being carried out by the Gentle Hands, and similar to the Gentle Hands home, Jason's home in Quezon City, they have similar education program which unfortunately not also accredited by the DepEd. And in terms of the facilities, it's quite different in terms of the much bigger ang Bulacan, and actually we'll be recommending that they can still accept children if ever na may matransfer sa kanila. So what we're doing right now, we do monitoring, actual visit. No? So, this coming November 14, we will be going to Nayon ng Kabataan again to validate. No? So, maybe, again, kagaya ng dati, we will form a quick response team, no, to assess what we have learned or what we have heard yesterday to validate po, and then we will submit our findings.
Salamat, Ms. Bing. But in terms of the committee just appreciating yung sinabi ng mga bata dun sa, yung sinabi ng mga bata dun sa audio file nung May 27. Tapos yung sinabi nung iba, parehong mga bata, kahapon lang. So paano, may payo ba ang CHR sa komite how to appreciate these conflicting information kapag mga bata ang resource persons? And maybe related also sa observation ko kanina na sayang wala tayong unaffiliated or independent child psychologist ngayon. Pagpunta nyo po sa mga visits, mga inspection, magdadala po ba kayo ng child psychologist?
So given the situation, we will. Of course, we have a partners naman po na mga academic institution, siguro better academic institution para in terms of bias or we can eliminate that, and we have po tools, the CHR has tools on monitoring, so all aspects po yan, psychological, physical setup ng facility, we do have that. So we will be using those tools na batay sa mga international standards po. And may presumption po kasi tayo na pag bata ang kausap natin ay papakinggan natin yung yung mga sasabihin ng mga bata. At saka at the end of the day, yung gagamitin natin ay yung aside from the UNCRC ay yung aspeto na makakabuti sa bata. Ngayon, bukas at magpakailanman. Thank you.
Maraming salamat para doon, Miss Bing. Pero bukod doon at baka gustong magdagdag si Attorney Tinga, precisely gusto ng komite din pakinggan ng mga bata. And ang siguro huling pagtanong ko ulit ay wala po bang payo ang CHR sa komite paano pakinggan ang mga bata kung dun sa isang audio file ganito yung sinasabi nila Mayo, and then 6 months later, Oktubre, iba or baliktad yung sinasabi nila sa isang video. Kung walang payo, it's okay. Nagtatanong lang ako kung mayroon. So, Attorney Tinga?
Yes, ma'am. If I may, ma'am. Ma'am, ang ginagawa po namin sa investigation office is that we adopt the child witness procedure na inisyu po ng Supreme Court Circular. Ganun po namin iniimbestigahan at pina-follow po namin yon. Dahil po, kung magkaroon ng case, admissible po yung mga makukuha nating evidence. Okay po.
Salamat, Attorney. So, ibig sabihin, i-appreciate ng komite yung audio file saka yung video. At the same time, pagdating sa ibang mga investigative process tulad sa CHR, yung mga testimony na kukuha ninyo gamit ang child witness procedure, in a way, mas para sa inyo may probative value iyon.
I confirm that, Your Honor.
Salamat, Attorney.
And
Yes, Ms. Bing,
Madam
bago
Chair,
ako dumako sa huling resource
normally,
person.
when we conduct visit, kinakausap namin yung mga bata, wala yung mga personnel, no? And mas of course, there are process to be undertaken muna before the kumbaga it's a focus group discussions or a one-on-one. So yun po yung isang pag-safeguard na wala sila sa walang impluwensya yung mga.
All right. Salamat, Ms. Bing. Well taken. Yes, Secretary.
Sorry to interrupt again,
Yes.
but before you move on to your last resource person, I will be remiss in my duty as the head of agency by not saying this. I stand by our people, our social workers and our child psychologists and our case managers in our care facilities in no way will influence the child to say things. These are people who's been working with the department without any political color or any leaning towards anybody. Mga dedicated po tong mga social worker, case managers, house parents. I think I do respect the committee's direction on getting an independent child psychologist, but I would again be remiss by not saying this for the record. The video is there, true, but again, there will be a better explanation to that, but to somehow, not the committee, but to somehow insinuate that our people in the care facilities were teaching them. Hindi ho yun gawain ng mga magigiting namin mga social worker na araw-araw nagsasakripisyo.
Very well taken, Sec. And the chair, the chair did not sense any such insinuation from CHR or any of the other resource persons. And I think yung halaga ng pagkakaroon at paggamit ng child, nasa na ba yung aking note doon? Child witness procedure ay to not to cast aspersion on any adult, any responsible adult trying to influence the child, but just to be able to provide a space where the child feels he or she speaks freely, wala siyang pagiging self-conscious sa any other persons present. So, because if the chair had sensed any disrespect from any resource person to any other resource person, I would have called that resource person's notice. So, very well taken and appreciated as head of agency yung manifestation ng good secretary. So at this point in time, Ms. Dixon is online. So could we hear from her for, it's actually 12:30 already. So, pero could we hear from her for about 2 minutes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Attorney, before our last resource persons, yung Organization of Adoptive Parents, and then the chair will adjourn this hearing.
Yes, Your Honor. She will
for
read her
executive
statement,
session.
Your Honor, that she sent to the committee already.
All right. Ms. Renalyn Dixon, sige po, magandang umaga or magandang gabi dyan sa inyo. Could you please read your statement in the hearing of the committee?
Yes po. I came to Gentle Hands when I was 13 years old. I was really broken, lost, and hurt and abandoned. And the moment that I got there, I knew that my life would change and it would never be the same. And so the Gentle Hands became the family I never thought I would have. They really did help me so much. They helped me find healing, find myself, and gave me the safest home I could ever be in. And they taught me how to love by the way that they loved and care about me. And because of that, I was really, really having a hard time when my family finally came in there, my forever family, they came in there, and I was having the hardest time to leave Gentle Hands because Gentle Hands became my home and they are my family. And I never thought that I would have a hard time leaving that home, but I did. I really did. And I think about them all the time. But yeah, and so to fast forward to now, and I honestly I could never imagine my life without them. I wouldn't know where I would be. I don't think that I would be here. I think that I would still be there in the Philippines, still going through the same stuff that I was going through before then. And yeah, and they really have helped me a lot. And I think that Gentle Hands is a home for a hurting kid. The kids are really lost and kids that were abandoned just like me. And I believe that because I went through that.
Salamat, Ms. Renalyn, also for staying up late, your time to participate in the hearing. The committee really appreciates it. The chair, I'm glad that you are well, that you had a good experience, and that you're in a good place now. So maraming salamat for sharing your
Yes po.
experience and your testimony with our committee. Salamat, Ms. Renalyn. So, and take
Thank
care.
you po.
Thank you. Salamat po.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to ask a few questions from the Organization of Adoptive Parents. Sino pong
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon pala.
Oh,
Noon time
sorry,
na.
that's right. Good noon. And please, for those who haven't eaten yet, yung mga nakaupo po ba sa likod, may pagkain din po? All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Brosas, so firstly, could you
Yes.
please tell us about your organization? Meron din po ba kayong mga miyembro mula sa ibang bansa? Ibig sabihin, may mga miyembro kayo na mga Pilipino at meron din na mga dayuhan.
It's purely domestic.
Purely
Bale,
domestic, sir.
I represent Adoption Support Group, Calabarzon. But we have a position paper, and this is, as I'll be speaking and reading it, as a representative of the Adoption Council. I'm sure you remember we had several consultations, although online lang, gawa ng COVID noon, restrictions, regarding crafting of RA 11642, and also Attorney Bekema. So I'd like
Please
to read
proceed.
the position paper of the Adoption Council on SRN 643 and 645. Dear Honorable Senator, greetings. We are the Adoption Council, composed of the heads of different regional adoption and foster support groups and co-advocate groups. Would like to present our position paper regarding your SRN 643 and Senator Pimentel's SRN 645, both concerning the case of Gentle Hands Incorporated, the cease and desist order of DSWD, the immediate removal of the children in their ward, and its unintended effect on the children. This hearing also aims to aid legislation in the proper treatment of said circumstances. By the way, I provided a copy for you.
Mr.
As I-
Brosas,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind, kung pwede, dahil sasabihin ko sana, if you could just submit it in
Yes.
writing to the committee, but maybe you would like to at least give
just
us the
go through the
conclusion,
highlights.
the
The
highlights,
highlights,
in
yes.
the interest of time.
Okay,
Thank you very
so,
much, Mr. Brosas.
We'll go to the our recommendations. One,
Thank you.
regarding the who is right or who is wrong, we leave it to the committee. But rather, we would suggest the need to take control of an orphanage happen again in the future. The following protocol be followed. Number one, if there is indeed a need to transfer the children, then social workers from the SWD, NACC, or this facility that will receive them be assigned to assimilate themselves with the current caregivers of the subject orphanage for at least 2 days. This will not only offer time for the children to be introduced to the upcoming changes, but shall also allow the DSWD social workers to observe, gather information, and even make suggestions regarding the investigation, or put it under a sort of receivership, where DSWD or NACC controls the running of the facility, so that ongoing adoption or fostering are not suddenly disrupted, and proper notices are also accorded the sponsors that support the orphanage. Kasi, siyempre, may mga sponsors. Should there be a need to secure documents or evidences regarding the facility, then padlocking the offices, securing the computers, and documents can be made with care so as not to make a commotion that will cause confusion and tension among the children, or much better, placing the said agency under receivership. Number 3, in case of police assistance, they should remain outside the premises, securing entry or exit passages, or just being ready if called. They should avoid being seen by children, especially if armed. Make an arrest if merited, discreetly and quietly. Remember that those to be taken into custody are already parental figures for the children. Shouting, sudden movement, as in a raid, and loud noises disrupts and upsets the children. Do note that these suggestions are at the discretion of whoever shall be handling a case, and does not include imminent danger from sexual exploitation or hostage situations. Siyempre, iba po yun. May we also suggest that inspections be made to government-run children's facilities so as to determine if they can be made to be at par with the standards demanded from private-run agencies, and if needed, be given funding to improve their quality. Okay, so this is from Adoption Council, from Rina Sionco, Northfield Adoptive Parents, Kaking C, Central Visayas Adoptive Parents Association, Krina Henson, Generations Home, formerly Rohay, Michelle Gormley, Region 3, Cathy Miñosa Quezon, President, Philippine Without Orphans, Isa de Guzman, Vice President, Foster Adoption Support Group NCR, Hil Beles, President kay Isahang Buhay Foundation Families, Mark Cabag, President, Panay Adoptive and Foster Parents Associations and No More Orphans Philippines, representing Region 6, Attorney Marlene Hidalgo, Child Advocates Association and Regional Adoption and Foster Care, representing Region 1, Claire Henderson, representing Region 3, founder and director, Helping Hands, Healing Hearts, Ms. Malen Papadopoulos, foster and adoptive parents with special needs children, and Ms. Julian Bacani, executive director, Horizon of Hope Village. So this is a collective statement. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you very much,
Madam Chair.
Mr. Brosas.
Yes.
Yes, Secretary.
If you'll allow me, just quickly, and we will submit everything in writing again.
All right.
Thank you, sir, for to the resource person for those pointers. And there is a similarly situated care facility that we also, Madam Chair, if you can recall in the last hearing, we said that upon my assumption in office, and because of this case, we did a rapid assessment on all care facilities nationwide, both government and private. Now, in the government side, in the private side, we stumbled upon another care facility, Bethany Home, which is ran by the Salvation Army. They also had fire safety inspection certificate issues. They had other building permit issues. And what happened with Gentle Hands, and this might protract the debate, but again, was not the intention if the care facility cooperated. The commotion was not something that we all wanted. In the case of Bethany Hands, when we served them the notices, immediately they got in touch with us and we did a technical assistance with them. And they voluntarily turned over their children to us. They walked through the process so that hindi maging traumatic dun sa mga bata. Yun ho ang nasa vision namin sa Gentle Hands. Hindi ho social worker namin na nagsisigaw nung araw na yon. So in the case of Bethany Hands, what happened was we prepared their children together for 2 days. It was a weekend and the imminent danger was also there. But the management of Bethany Home was very cooperative. They said, okay, let's talk to the children together. They explained the whole situation and they brought the children to us together. And what the beauty about this case is we're now providing them technical assistance wherein they are fixing their facility with the hope that they can get their children back, and they are constantly getting technical assistance from us. Kasi yun ho yung parang issue na bakit ganun yung nangyari, because it wasn't us who was engaging in the screaming, in the loud noise, in the police. No, it wasn't us. The videos that we showed, when we submitted to the committee, showed otherwise, that our social workers were calm, collected, and they knew very well what they had to do. So these are two similarly situated homes. In the case of Bethany Hands, the children are with us, and they are about to finish their renovations, and we are about to do another visit so that we can turn over their children back to the home. By the way, ma'am, they are still co-sharing the cost with us of taking care of the children in our care facility. And this happened because of after Gentle Hands, we had the instinct to do a rapid assessment of all care facilities nationwide, and we stumbled again on Bethany, and they were very cooperative. Yun yung ideal situation that we wanted to happen with Gentle Hands.
Salamat, Secretary. The Chair appreciates the efforts of departments to do that rapid nationwide assessment after a difficult experience with one particular stakeholder, and also that the Secretary can point out another example na naging mas positive yung naging proseso. The Chair also really appreciates the presentation of Mr. Brosas for the Adoption Council, and that it came from adoption support groups very clearly from all over Luzon and the Visayas, at malamang dahil yung iba ay mga nationwide adoption support groups, and malamang may Mindanao representation din. Nakakatuwa lang na from before, when we were still lobbying for the law, pushed by the DSWD, super pushed also by current and prospective adoptive parents, hanggang ngayon, nararamdaman po ng komite yung pagmamalasakit ng lahat ng stakeholders, including ng mga adoptive parents. So, thank you so much, not just for your cooperation in shortening the reading of the position paper, going straight to the recommended protocols. Na ang sense ko naman, although taking off from the GHI and DSWD recent experience with each other, bunga din ng mga karanasan nyo as adoptive parents yourselves with other child care facilities as well. And dahil ongoing naman na yung proseso ng DSWD on their new and improved memorandum circular, and because may mga positive experiences din naman like that just cited by the Secretary, I'm hopeful na magiging makakatulong din yung mga suggested protocols posible sa memorandum circular. So just to put that on record, the deep appreciation of the chair also sa
Welcome.
Adoption Council.
Welcome.
Thank you. So at this point in time, we'd like to invite the DSWD and the DOJ to our executive session, this upon the request of our state agencies to share their official findings, not a discovery, not an investigative process. So the executive session, for all those concerned in the two departments, will be in the Quezon room. Tapos babalik po tayo dito para lang mag-adjourn ng ating hearing. And kung maaari po for sa Tanyada room na pala po tayo sa ating executive session, and then babalik tayo dito sa room na to para mag-adjourn. So kung maaari, para sa DSWD at sa DOJ, kung maaari hanggang USEC o ASEC level lang para hindi tayo masyadong marami sa ating executive session. So, yes, before the chair suspends this hearing, Attorney
Yes, Your Honor.
Balahadja Ligayu.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to, it's good news what I heard from Secretary Gatchalian, that they were actually able to restore or in the process of restoring children to Bethany. And like we said in the previous hearing, we are very willing to cooperate. The reason why I mentioned the DOTR purchase earlier on is because we are really trying to comply, look for premises where we can transfer from, but it is good news, and we are very happy to note the report of the social worker about the children. Your Honor, however, may we be allowed to visit the children at NK? Because recently we have not been allowed to visit, the GHI have not been allowed to visit the children at Nayong Kabataan, Your Honor. And except for the cancer patient who is in touch with the nurse from Gentle Hands, the only persons who are allowed to visit the at the Nayong Kabataan are the legal counsels, Your Honor. So if we may be given permission, and Your Honor, also as to your question earlier to the CHR, what is the best way to determine whether or not the children are telling the truth? We invite a visit, Your Honor. If you could visit the children and ask them yourselves, then perhaps you can determine what the truth is, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Yes, the chair noted also with hope the input that you gave, or the update that the DOTR has made an effort, and that GHI's next step is to purchase a building, and that you hope to restore your license at least in the NCR. The chair notes the request to the DSWD and NAC about
And Madam Chair,
visiting the
if you'll allow
children
me
in
to
Nayang
answer.
Kabataan, and positively endorses it to the Secretary for their
accede to it, Madam
decision.
Chair. We've already been very vocal that supervised visits by our personnel and social worker, together with their people, is always allowed.
Thank you very much, Secretary. I'm
Thank you.
always happy to hear any, if not complete resolution yet, partial resolutions or steps towards in the best interest of the child. For example, earlier, very clearly between DSWD and NAC, and then now between DSWD and GHI.
Thank you.
The committee is just a witness here to that, and on behalf of the whole committee, I really wish both parties the best in resolving this in the best interest of the child. So thank you also, Attorney. Thank you, Secretary. We will suspend the hearing to move to our executive session in Tanyada room.
Madam Chair, sorry po. Madam Chair,
Yes,
since
Yusek
andito na po
Janela.
yung Gentle Hands, may request po yung mga bata sa Nayon kung pwede daw po nilang makuha yung mga gamit po nila sa GHI.
Well noted, Yusek, and the chair hopes that just as DSWD responded positively to the request of GHI, that GHI can also respond positively to the request of the NAC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney. The chair notes that commitment to the NAC from GHI. So muli, Yusek, hanggang USEC or ASEC level, at saka, importante, yung mga social workers directly related to the case. Tumungo na po tayo sa Tanyada Room, please. So the hearing is suspended.